I've outgrown this. I've outgrown you. I've met someone who understands what I need.
When are you leaving?
I was 43 years old when my wife of 12 years stood in the master bedroom and told me I was no longer her husband. Not legally, emotionally. She said it the way you might tell someone their credit card was declined. Polite. Final. Without room for negotiation. Her name was Olivia Mercer. She kept her maiden name for branding purposes. She was wearing a cream cashmere sweater and those designer jeans that cost more than most people's monthly mortgage. Her hair was pulled back in that severe ponytail she wore when she meant business. She had her phone in one hand and car keys in the other. Behind her, through the tall windows of our bedroom, you could see the California hills rolling out toward the Pacific. The house sat on 11 acres in Montecito, 22,000 square feet. Hand-carved stone, custom ironwork, gardens that took a team of 6 to maintain. Every real estate blog in the country had written about it. Architectural Digest had done a 12-page spread. Olivia was in most of those photos. I was in too. She said, I've outgrown this. I've outgrown you. I didn't respond right away. I was standing near the doorway. I had a pencil behind my ear. I had been working in my studio downstairs. I still did that. Drew plans by hand sometimes, even though everything was digital now. Old habit. She continued. I've met someone who understands what I need. His name is Preston Yates. He owns half the commercial developments between here and San Diego. He's taking me to Monaco next week. We're going to be seen together. Publicly. I wanted you to know before it hit the press. I looked at her. Really looked. She was 41. She had spent the last decade building a lifestyle brand around wellness, luxury, and what she called aspirational living. She had 300,000 followers on Instagram, a book deal, sponsorships. Most of her content was shot in this house. In our kitchen, on our terrace, by our pool. She would stand in front of the limestone fireplace in the great room and talk about manifesting abundance. The comments always mentioned the house. Always. I asked, when are you leaving? She blinked. I think she expected more resistance. Tonight, she said. But I'm coming back next Saturday. I'm hosting the Golden Coast Charity Gala here. For 100 guests. It's been planned for 8 months. I've already sent the invitations. Everyone who matters will be here. Donors. Investors. Press. Preston will be my date. I wanted to give you time to make arrangements. You can stay at a hotel that night if it's too awkward. I nodded slowly. You want me to leave? I think it would be easier. For you. She tilted her head. Ethan, don't make this harder than it needs to be. You're a good man. You've always been a good man. But you've never wanted what I wanted. You've never had the vision. I need someone who operates at my level. I didn't say anything. She walked past me, pulling a small suitcase. My attorney will be in touch about the division of assets. I'm being fair. I just want what's mine. She left that night. I watched her taillights disappear down the long driveway, past the gates, onto the private road that wound down toward the coast highway. The house was quiet. I stood in the entry hall for a long time. The chandelier above me was original. I had restored it myself 15 years ago when this place was still a gutted ruin. What Olivia didn't know, what I had never told her, was that this house was never ours. It was mine, only mine, and it had been long before I ever met her. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. I want to know who's following this from the beginning. And if you've ever had someone walk out on you like you were nothing, you're going to want to see how this plays out. I inherited the estate when I was 28. My grandfather, William Brooks, had been a structural engineer in the 1940s. He bought the land in Montecito in 1953 for almost nothing, built a modest house on it, raised his family there. When he died, the house was falling apart. The roof had caved in on the east wing. There was water damage. Mold. The county was threatening to condemn it. My father didn't want it. My uncles didn't want it. It was going to be sold for scraps. I was the only one who saw what it could be. I was young. I had just finished my master's in architecture. I had some money saved. Not much. I took out loans. I lived in a trailer on the property for 2 years while I gutted the house down to the studs. I did most of the work myself. Some I hired out. I tracked every receipt, every permit, every inspection. I rebuilt that house with my own hands. The limestone facade, the custom windows, the ironwork on the balconies. I designed every inch of it. When it was finished, I had a $20 million estate and debt up to my neck. But it was mine. The deed was in my name. The mortgage, which I paid off 8 years ago, was in my name. Every legal document tied to that property listed one owner, Ethan Michael Brooks. I met Olivia 3 years after I finished the house. She was working in event planning. She was sharp, charming, beautiful. She knew how to walk into a room and make people pay attention. I was quiet. I didn't go to parties. I didn't network. I spent my time designing buildings and reading in my studio. She brought light into my life. At least that's what I thought. When we got married, I never changed the deed. It wasn't malicious. It just never came up. She moved in. She redecorated. She hosted events. She started her brand. She told people it was our house, and I didn't correct her. I didn't care about the attention. I didn't need the credit. I just wanted to build things. I thought we were building a life. I was wrong. The week she was gone, I didn't sleep much. I spent most of my time in my office going through old files. I pulled the original deed, the building permits, the title insurance, the mortgage release. I made copies of everything. I scanned it all into a secure folder. Then I called my attorney. His name was Richard Kane. He had been my grandfather's lawyer and then mine. He was 71 years old and still sharper than most men half his age. I met him at his office in Santa Barbara on Wednesday afternoon. He read through everything I gave him. He didn't say much while he read. When he finished, he leaned back in his chair and looked at me over his glasses. "She doesn't know," he said. "No. She thinks it's marital property. She's been telling people it's hers for years." Richard tapped the deed with one finger. "This is airtight. You inherited it before the marriage. You maintained sole ownership. You paid for all the restorations with loans in your name. California is a community property state, but this doesn't qualify. She has no claim. She's hosting an event there on Saturday," I said. "She's bringing 400 people. Press. Investors. She's using the house as a stage." Richard raised an eyebrow. "Without your permission? She assumes she doesn't need it." He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "What do you want to do?" I told him. He smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. "I'll have the paperwork ready by Friday." I left his office and drove back to Montecito. I spent the next 2 days making calls. I contacted the security company that managed the estate's gate systems and biometric locks. I had them reset every code, every fingerprint, every keycard. I kept only mine active. I called the event staff Olivia had hired. Caterers, valets, bartenders. I told them the event was canceled. I paid their cancellation fees myself. I didn't want anyone caught in the middle. Then I called the chief of police in Montecito. I explained the situation. I showed him the deed. I told him there might be a disturbance on Saturday night. He said he'd have a unit nearby. Saturday came. I got dressed in a suit. Gray. Nothing flashy. I didn't wear ties often, but I wore one that night. I wanted to look like someone who knew exactly what he was doing. The gala was supposed to start at 7. Olivia arrived at 6:30. I watched her on the security cameras. She pulled up in a black Bentley. Preston Yates was driving. He was older than I expected. Mid-50s. Silver hair. Expensive watch. He looked like a man who had spent his whole life buying things. Olivia got out of the car first. She was wearing a gold dress. Long, elegant. She looked perfect. She walked toward the front gate with her phone in her hand, probably ready to post her arrival. Preston followed. She reached the gate and entered her code. Nothing. She tried again. Still nothing. She frowned. She pulled out her phone and tried the app that controlled the backup entry system. Access denied. I saw her say something to Preston. He stepped forward and tried the intercom. I didn't answer. Within 10 minutes, cars started arriving. Dozens of them. Valets were supposed to be there, but they weren't. Guests began parking along the road. I recognized some of the faces from Olivia's social media. Investors, influencers, a city councilman, a retired actress. They gathered near the gate, confused. Olivia was on her phone now, frantic. She was calling someone. Probably me. I didn't pick up. At 7:15, I walked down the driveway. I didn't rush. I took my time. When I reached the gate, there were over 100 people standing outside. Olivia saw me, and her face went from confusion to fury. She shouted through the bars, "Ethan, open this gate right now." I stopped a few feet from the entrance. I folded my hands in front of me. "No," I said. Her mouth opened, then closed. Preston stepped forward. "Listen, friend," he said. "I don't know what kind of game you're playing, but this is a charity event. There are very important people here. Open the gate." I looked at him. "This is private property. You're not invited." Olivia's voice went shrill. "This is my house. I planned this event. You can't do this." I reached into my jacket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. I held it up so she could see it through the gate. "This is the deed to this property," I said. "It lists one owner. Me. It was transferred to me 15 years ago when I inherited it from my grandfather. I rebuilt this house with my own money. You moved in after we were married, but your name has never been on any legal document tied to this estate. You don't own this house, Olivia. You never did. If you're still watching at this point, drop a comment that says I'm still here. Let's see who's truly following this shocking story. I need to know you're paying attention because what comes next is going to blow your mind." The crowd went silent. A few people had their phones out. Some were recording. Olivia's face had gone pale. "That's a lie," she said. "I've lived here for 12 years. As a guest," I said. "And now you're not." Preston looked at Olivia, then back at me. "You're telling me she doesn't own this place?" "Correct." He stepped back. I could see him doing the math. All the press, all the photos, all the brand deals Olivia had built using this house as proof of her status. It was all borrowed credibility, and he had just attached himself to it in front of 400 witnesses. Olivia's voice cracked. "Ethan, please. Don't do this. Not like this. You told me I wasn't your husband anymore," I said. "You were right. And you're not my wife. Which means you don't live here. You don't host events here. And you don't speak for me." She reached through the bars like she was going to grab me. "I'll sue you. I'll take everything." "With what?" I asked. "You have no claim. Richard Kane has already filed an injunction preventing you from using this property or its image for any commercial purpose. That includes your social media, your book, your brand deals. If you post one more picture of this house and imply that you own it, you'll be sued for fraud." Her hand dropped. I turned and looked at the crowd. Some of them were still filming. I spoke clearly. "This event is canceled. This is private property. You're all trespassing. If you're not gone in 10 minutes, I'll have you removed." A few people started walking back to their cars immediately. Others stood there, stunned. Preston grabbed Olivia's arm and pulled her toward the Bentley. She was crying now. Loud, ugly sobs. The kind that don't photograph well. Within 20 minutes, the road was empty. I walked back up the driveway alone. The house was quiet again. I didn't feel good. I didn't feel victorious. I felt tired. But I also felt something else. Free. The fallout was immediate. By Sunday morning, videos of the confrontation were all over social media. Olivia's followers turned on her. The comments were brutal. People dug into her past posts and found dozens of times she had claimed ownership of the house. Interview clips where she called it her estate. Promotional content where she implied she had designed it. All of it was a lie, and now everyone knew. Her book deal was canceled. 3 major sponsors dropped her. Preston Yates released a statement through his publicist saying he and Olivia were no longer seeing each other. He called it a mutual decision. Nobody believed him. Olivia tried to do damage control. She posted a tearful video saying she had been blindsided, that she had contributed to the home, that I had manipulated her. But the deed was public record now. Richard had made sure of that. Anyone could look it up. Her story didn't hold. 2 weeks later, she filed for divorce. I didn't contest it. I didn't ask for anything from her because there was nothing I wanted. Richard handled everything. The divorce was finalized in 4 months. She got nothing from the house. No sale. No split. Nothing. California law was clear. It wasn't community property. She moved to Los Angeles. I heard she was trying to rebuild her brand, but it never recovered. The trust was gone. In the world she had built, image was everything. And hers was shattered. I stayed in Montecito. For a while, I thought about selling the house. It felt empty. But the more I sat with it, the more I realized I didn't want to erase it. I wanted to use it. I turned the estate into the Brooks Institute for Design and Leadership. It's a mentorship program for young architects and entrepreneurs from underserved communities. We host workshops, portfolio reviews, design competitions. We bring in professionals to teach. We offer scholarships. The house that Olivia used as a backdrop for her brand is now a place where people learn to build their own futures. I still live there. I have a private wing. The rest is open to the program. We host about 60 students a year. Some of them are brilliant. Some of them just need a chance. I give them what my grandfather gave me, a foundation, a belief that they can create something from nothing. I see Olivia's name sometimes. She still posts online. Smaller audience now. Different tone. She sells courses on resilience and reinvention. I don't follow her. I don't think about her much. When I do, I don't feel anger. I feel nothing. She was right about one thing. I wasn't her husband anymore. Not in any way that mattered. I don't know if I ever was. Maybe I was just the man who owned the house she wanted to live in. But I know who I am now. I'm the man who built it. There was one moment, about 6 months after the divorce, when I got a letter. It came to the estate. No return address. I opened it in my office. It was from Olivia. She didn't apologize. She didn't ask for anything. She just wrote one line. I never knew you could be that cold. I read it twice. Then I folded it and put it in a drawer. She was wrong. I wasn't cold. I was just done. Cold would have been revenge. What I did was recognition. I recognized that she had spent 12 years treating me like a feature of the house. Useful. Decorative. Forgotten when the lighting was better somewhere else. I recognized that I had allowed it. I had been so focused on my work, on my designs, on letting her shine, that I forgot to ask if she even saw me. When she said I wasn't her husband anymore, she was telling the truth. I just made it official. The students at the Institute don't know the full story. They know I inherited the house. They know I rebuilt it. They don't know about Olivia. They don't need to. That's not the lesson. The lesson is that you can build something from nothing. You can take something broken and make it whole. And when someone tries to take credit for your work, for your vision, for your sacrifice, you don't have to fight them. You just have to show the receipts. I'm 50 now. I still design buildings. I still teach. I still spend my mornings in the studio with a pencil behind my ear, sketching by hand. The house is full of voices now. Young voices. Hungry voices. People who want to create. It's not quiet anymore. But it's mine. And that's worth more than anything Olivia ever posted. If you made it to the end of this story, I need you to do something for me. Hit that like button. Leave a comment telling me what you think Ethan should have done differently, or if you did the right thing. And subscribe, because I've got more stories like this that'll make you question everything you thought you knew about loyalty and power. Don't just watch, be part of the conversation. I haven't spoken to Olivia in years. I don't plan to. There's nothing left to say. She built a life on something that wasn't hers, and when it collapsed, she blamed me for not holding it up. But I was never the foundation. I was just the architect. And architects don't build for applause. They build to last.